Welcome back, folks and friends. Connecting dots here. Today's date is November 5th, 2014. This is your radiation update. And boy, oh boy, do I got a whole lot of news here. So this first one here is out of Japan. It says that the Japan Nuclear Fuel Limited has announced another delay to the start of its 21 billion nuclear fuel processing plant to March 2016. Yeah, because of it has to meet these new safety standards that have come about because of Fukushima disaster. Now that's interesting because the following stories all relate to how they're now coming up with new safety standards, all because of Fukushima. So this story here says that the Rokosho plant is actually behind schedule, and it was supposed to be completed in 1997. So yeah, there's been new updates or standards they have to meet, and this is all because it turns out the plant suffered a power failure following an April aftershock to the March earthquake. So not even the March earthquake that caused the power failure, it was an April aftershock. Now remember the earthquake, because I'll be getting into this whole earthquake story because we've got more news coming out of Japan, what's taking place this week, discussions here. So yeah, they're concerned about it, and it turns out that this plant was originally designed to separate as much as 8 tons of plutonium per year. So not only has the plant not opened since 1997, but they've been stockpiling spent fuel pool, and according to this one, what they're saying here, they're reporting that the plant was designed to, process 8 tons of this plutonium. So I imagine there's 8 tons of plutonium times almost 20 years of it. Yeah, it's gathering up. This is one of the stories I've picked up from this Rokosho plant, is that they're concerned that they're running out of space for the spent fuel pool to store all these spent fuel rods. Another story out of Switzerland. This time here, they're following the same cue that I reported here in Canada, where they're now going to start handing out these iodine pills in case of a nuclear disaster. So now they're broadening, they're going to make it a 50-kilometer radius in the coming weeks. The people that live in that area, and there's apparently 4.6 million people that live within a 50-kilometer radius of their nuclear plants in Switzerland, well, they're all going to receive these package of 12 pills, that they can keep for decades, for 10 years. Well, let's just hope should a meltdown take place in about 8 years or 9 years, they're going to remember where those pills are. But here's the thing, that's only dealing with the iodine. 131. There's hundreds of other radioactive isotopes. Yes, iodine's in the strongest concentration, but the fact is here, if you've been following my Fukushima, I reported how even on the West Coast, they did air sampling in the city of Seattle for 2 months during the month of March and April of 2011, and they found that people that were living in Seattle were breathing in 5 of these hot radioactive fuel fleas per day per person for 60 days straight, and it only takes 1 fuel flea to possibly cause cancer, and people in Seattle were breathing in 5, and that's if you lived a sedentary life. They said if your active life had a faster heart rate, doing hard work outside, a jogger, whatnot, you were breathing in 10, which is exactly the same amount as people living in Tokyo were breathing in during the same time period. That's right, they had an air sample there during March and April. Turns out during that 60-day period, people were breathing in 10 of these fuel fleas. So it turns out that, yes, it travels across the Pacific Ocean because of a thing called the jet stream, and 50 kilometers is not going to cut it. And this is something I talked about, how even Canada was having these new emergency preparations here. This is in Fukushima Day 1313. Fukushima Day 1313. You can look it up on my YouTube channel. I talked about this, and I also said how I was going to call the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. I want to interview them. So I've called them. I've left a couple of messages. No one's called me back here. And I've mentioned how even in 2011, when I went across Canada, back and forth, doing radiation readings of Fukushima across Canada, I'd stopped in Ottawa for a week, and I'd contacted the Nuclear Industry Commission there so I could have an interview with them, and they never returned my call. I left about 4 or 5 messages, and in the end, you may recall, I went down there with my video camera right down on Slater Street in Ottawa, downtown Ottawa, went to the commission. They sent me a rep. It took them about 10-15 minutes for him to get his ass downstairs. But you know what? It was totally waste of my time, because we ended up having a discussion, and it didn't go for long because the guy couldn't even understand how the jet stream would carry these radioactive isotopes onto the West Coast. He kept telling me, well, no, there's a science that says that could be wrong. And he was stuck on, no, it doesn't work that way. And I'm like, yeah, it does. It's called the jet stream. Anything that gets caught in the wind travels across the wind, and he was wrong and I was right, and he knew damn well, and that's why they send me these goofy people to have a discussion, and now they're not returning my phone calls. And I'm not in Ottawa anymore, so I'm going to have to keep persisting here. I'm going to get a phone call because in Ottawa they're now telling you what? They're going to be spreading it. They're planning a zone of 50 to 80 kilometers around each plant. Well, I'm sorry, folks. If you're living downwind from the plant, 80 kilometers is not going to cut it, and I promise you I will not stop hitting them up. I will get an interview soon. Now, going back to Japan, as I mentioned, keep track of those earthquakes because this is what this story is all about. You may recall here, just last week, I was talking about these two nuclear plants that, located in Sende, the Sende power plant. There's two nuclear reactors, and all 48 nuclear reactors were all closed down in Japan ever since the Fukushima meltdown. And the local officials in this town here, they were planning on restarting the power plants. They'd voted on it, and it looks like it may not go through here because here it says that from November 5th to the 7th, they're having an extraordinary session at Kagoshima Prefectural Assembly, which will deliberate on whether to agree to restart the nuclear reactors. And it's very interesting. I'm going to scroll down below, and as I've said before, everything you see in my videos is all linked down below. So if you want to go read the entire story, it's all listed there. So it goes on to say that without naming the Sende power plant, the Volcanological Society of Japan has disagreed with the NRA's assessment of the risk posed by volcanic eruptions. The society says that the NRA has little understanding of the difficulty in predicting eruptions. Neither the government nor Tokyo Electric Power Company heeded the warnings of tsunami experts regarding the Fukushima No. 1 plant. This time, the NRA and all power companies must listen attentively to what the Volcanological Society of Japan has to say. The unpredictability of volcanic eruptions may be symbolic to the fact that nobody can guarantee the safety of nuclear power generations 100%. And that's very interesting, folks, because that's one of the things I talked about, is that the Sende power plant is located, I think, roughly 64 or 74 kilometers away from an active volcano. And there's another volcano that just killed a bunch of tourists here last summer of 2013. I think it was 17 tourists here when that had an unexpected release of volcanic ash and gases. So yes, they don't know when it's going to go, and that Sende power plant is located in a hotbed of some of them extinct and some of them active volcanoes. So hopefully this won't go through, and should you be concerned, I hope so, and if not, well, I got a story closer to home in the United States. Diablo Cannon here. Turns out that it's no friend of you. There's no doubt about it. I've reported stories on this Diablo Cannon in the past here, and this one here dated November 3rd. It says the environmentalist collective Friends of the Earth, no, not Kevin D. Blanch, and one of the several groups that played a significant role in pushing for the permanent shutdown of San Onofre nuclear generation station is asking a federal judge to order operations ceased at Diablo Cannon, the state's last remaining nuclear plant. In a federal court filing last week, the organization alleges that the plant operator, Pacific Gas and Electric, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission dodges rules in allowing an update to the plant's safety plan to go forward without public hearings. Now, at issue are questions pertaining to earthquake safety at the plant, which have existed since before the ground even broke on the project in 1968 and have intensified following the Fukushima Daiichi disaster in 2011. It says that additionally, a new earthquake fault line has been discovered in recent years, extending as close as 650 feet from the plant. And it says, in the wake of the Fukushima meltdowns, former Diablo Canyon resident, senior resident inspector Dr. Michael Peck penned an opinion that the plant was operating in violation of its federal license and should be shut down until new seismic concerns could be addressed. And this is what I talked about before, how we had a Nuclear Regulatory Commissioner that resigned. He went to Wall Street 2 weeks later and he said all 104 U.S. nuclear plants are flawed and they all have to be closed down. We won't get the truth from anyone while they're in power. It's always once they quit. And it goes on to say in the next line here, in a July 2013 formal dissent, which the NRC suppressed for more than a year, no surprise there, Dr. Peck argued that newly discovered faults could produce earthquakes far more destructive than the plant was designed, built, and licensed to withstand in 1968. So will we have a change? I don't know, but seems like there's a group here that are pushing this, and may not be closed down tomorrow, but at least we have some proactive people. And you know, someone said, remove this video webmaster. You are in violation. Masteralization. He sent me an email last week, scaring me, trying to scare me. It doesn't work, and he's referring to this video. And yeah, what can I say? Yeah, another nutcase. So anyone who's going to come out and lie is going to be, I'm going to promote them as the scam promoters. So Miss Melky the Clown, Radchick, God, there's so many of them. It's disgusting. So many that won't speak out on the scam of the death of the Pacific Ocean. Many of you caught on that you can't go around the Pacific Ocean with a boat just taking pictures, which is one of the things at least Beautiful Girl by Dana has been more straightforward in the last couple of videos. He's actually admitted now that they're not doing any gamma spectrum or radiation testing. It's all about taking pictures. I hope you caught that. Those of you that don't like me and like his videos, I hope you at least caught that important piece of information. He's now saying it's not about checking for radiation, it's about taking pictures of the coastline. And I may add that he's not even doing that properly, because you're supposed to mark off an area. Yeah, I know he GPS'd it, but that's not the way it works, folks. It's a lot more complicated than that. You actually have to square off an area and break it off in sections and take pictures of every section. He's not doing any of that. He's purposely avoided sea life. There's no doubt about it. So I will continue calling out the scammers, and I'm sorry if you're upset by that, but you may notice that not a single one of them, Jeff Rense, Beautiful Girl by Dana, Kevin D. Blanch, I call them all scammers, liar, fraud artists. Not a single one of them will take me to court. Why is that? Because they know damn well that if I go to court and I tell a judge all the stories, all the bullshit, how Jeff Rense was publishing videos telling the death of the ocean, the ocean was dead. I hope you understand that too. The premise has changed. At first it was the Pacific Ocean is dead from Fukushima, and then once we start pumping out these stories here, or myself and a few others, we start pumping out stories showing how actually there's more life than ever before in the Pacific Ocean, and these are from divers that have been going to the same areas for 17 years. Telling you, no, it's not dead. There's more life than ever before. So these people want to promote lies. I want to promote proper testing, and that's why I'm raising the funds for the gamma spectrometer. And yes, I'll keep exposing the liars. As I said in the past, I'm waiting for some more information. More recently here, I may have an interview coming up with Terry Daniels. No, sorry, not Terry Daniels. Terry Daniels. That's his real name. The guy who went around taking these pictures for the 9 days along the 200 kilometers on the Sunshine Coast, and then claiming with these pictures, claiming that all of the Pacific was now dead. That same video that was promoted by Jeff Rense. So it turns out I'll have an interview with Terry's ex-boss, and turns out he's ripped him off for thousands of dollars. So you get to hear from his ex-boss himself, give you guys the whole inside story. So yeah, they're being exposed, and it's going to be one at a time. As I mentioned, I'm in contact with Jeff Palco's brother here, and yeah, this story ain't done yet, folks. Hope you enjoyed the information.